My name is Dan Dorval, and I'm President and CEO of Dorval and Cherney Financial Advisors. I am an independent certified financial planner and author of my book, Financial Success for the Rest of Us, Reality Based Financial Planning for Mainstream America.
Hi, my name is Leah Woodley. I'm an associate financial advisor with Dorval and Cherney Financial Advisors. Our conversations discuss what it means to do quality of life planning in all areas of your life.
Dan, I recently got to meet with a very young couple. They were in their early 20s. And I just always love meeting with young people because it's like they're coming in with a fresh start, a clean slate, and we get to set a good foundation for them. What are some things that you like to highlight for new employees, young workers who are just getting started in their career?
Well, our unique group advisory agreements mean that we're helping everybody through those groups. So it might be 20 somethings who are just getting started, it might be, 60 somethings that are retiring and everybody in between. So when we do, our unique approach means we get to help these people
Mhm.
before they have done a lot of things wrong, or maybe they're, way behind or whatever it happens to be. So, our perspective is always that we have the hierarchy of cash flow.
Mhm.
And that hierarchy of cash flow is particularly relevant to somebody who's, maybe 22, 23, 24, just got out of school, they have their first real job, maybe they're getting married, maybe they're buying a house or, having major life events. And what happens is they're bombarded with information. Okay, so
Mhm.
like we can Google anything, there's AI systems, we can ask questions, we can get all the information in the world. And these
Mhm.
people are getting hit from, friends, family, coworkers, the internet, whatever, social media, and they're saying, okay, I need to do this, and I need to do this, and I need to do this. And they don't have the resources to do everything. I mean, they're just getting
Mhm.
started in their career. Maybe they're paying back student loans. They have challenges, right? So the hierarchy of cash flow just gives this nice systematic approach. Do this step, then this step, then this step. And now you have an order. And if you are a goal oriented type person, this gives you that opportunity to say, okay, I can do that, then move to the next step. And you can feel good about working your way up that pyramid of the hierarchy. So this is, that young couple that you're dealing with, the hierarchy of cash flow is the foundation of how I have that conversation.
Yes, and I was definitely had the opportunity to share that hierarchy with them. So that was something that is definitely appreciated and it's something that they can look at and know what to do next. So you're absolutely on point with that. Now, they also had some competing priorities, and we see this oftentimes. I mean, all throughout life, I feel like there's always going to be some type of competing priorities. How do you prioritize competing priorities?
Well, this is the reality that most of us don't have unlimited resources. I mean, if somebody comes in and they're super wealthy, it's like, well, okay, what do you want to do? They tell you, and you go, well, you can do all of it because you have unlimited resources. Most people obviously don't. And so this is where quality of life planning really hits home. This is the foundation of how we do planning and advice. So it is their values, their priorities, their motivations, their goals that drive all of our advice. It's not us imposing any sort of, like you'll hear about the Dave Ramsey type people where he'll say, "Oh, you can't live and have any quality of life until you've paid off these debts or, whatever it happens to be." We try to take a more balanced approach based on their values. So, if they have debt but they also want to save for retirement, these things get challenging. So again, the hierarchy gives us those steps. In that scenario, we would want them to contribute enough to get their match. But then if they have higher interest debt, we don't want them to put a whole bunch of money in their 401k when they're paying for maybe credit cards, maybe high interest car loans, maybe they're trying to accumulate money to buy a house. We want to prioritize their goals and their values.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's important to take in consideration the time frame of those goals as well. I know in this particular situation, they had two things that were in a pretty quick time frame that they needed to be accomplished. So it's okay to, focus on those things that are an immediate need and something that can be taken care of within a pretty short time frame, and then move back to everything else.
So a lot of times we see that with a house.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's a young couple and they want to buy their first house. So they need to accumulate money for that house, but yet they're also worried about getting behind with retirement savings or
Mm-hmm.
paying off debt or whatever it happens to be. And so, our focus on quality of life, if the house is their primary goal, the house is the ultimate quality of life goal. That's where they're going to
Mm-hmm.
live. They're going to spend a lot of time there. They're going to be there a long time. And so we want to focus on that immediate priority over other priorities and then assure them it's okay to reduce
Mm-hmm.
retirement plan contributions as long as you're still getting the match. It's okay to reduce retirement plan contributions for, a period of time, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And then once you're in the house, once you've accomplished that step, now we reevaluate cash flow and say, hey, maybe you can increase retirement contributions through a Roth IRA or through work or whatever it happens to be. And you're right, in life, you have these ebbs and flows where cash flow sometimes might feel abundant and you can contribute more. There are times cash flow might be very tight. For me personally, my wife and I were two incomes with no kids at one point. We had plenty of cash. Then, we got married, we bought a house. Well, when we had our first child, my wife stayed home. So we were down to one income, and that income was a pretty modest income. So now we weren't so flush with cash flow. So I cut back on retirement savings and we focused on more immediate priorities. Now, over time, our kids got older and, eventually they left the house. So now we have relatively modest expenses again. My income's as high as it's really ever been in my career. So we're flush with cash flow again. So these ebbs and flows are kind of natural processes through any financial plan. And our job is to help align those resources with what brings quality of life to the people we're helping.
Yes, absolutely. Is there any, are there any blind spots that you see with younger professionals?
Well, one of the biggest ones that I see all the time is, they come to see us. So, they're interested in their finances enough to come to see us in the first place. So
Yeah.
most of those people tend to be in pretty good shape. It's the people
Hmm.
who don't come to see us who usually aren't in great shape. But the ones who are 20 something, they're engaged, they want planning and advice, they're usually in pretty good shape. But one of the things I will see pretty consistently is they'll say, I'm in pretty good shape partly because I attribute that to my parents. Like my parents pushed us to save money, or my parents, suggested we do this or do that. And a lot of times it'll be, hey, when you're young, you should max out your 401k or at least contribute, 15% to your 401k. And once you do that when you're young, you just won't miss it because you did it when you're young enough and but that misses all the other goals. And so we have people
Hmm.
putting away a lot into their retirement account, which is not inherently a bad thing. I mean, they're not wasting money. But now maybe they can't get the house that they want to get. Maybe they're paying back debt for a longer period of time. Now that kind of ratchets up their financial stress. So we've seen people that get out of balance and they're trying to do the right thing based on what people are telling them. It's just conflicting with their priorities and their goals.
Yeah, I think that goes back to having some of that noise that you were talking about earlier. You kind of got to weed through the noise and focus on what is going to bring you quality of life and be prudent in making sure that your resources are aligned with those quality of life goals. Anything else you want to add?
I think the biggest thing is you helping those 20 somethings. I mean, they have access to a certified
Mhm.
financial planner who's experienced in helping them get off on, kind of the right foot, kind of set that perspective for the future. And now, they can come back to you. They can talk to you as their life changes. When you're young, you have so many big things ahead of you. You
Yeah.
might be getting married, you might be having children, you might be buying that house, you might have job changes more frequently when you're younger. And
Yeah.
so all of those things are exciting parts of life and they all affect your finances. So having access to someone like you through that process, it's just so valuable because most young people in a wealth management world, they're not wealthy people.
Right.
So they don't have access to competent financial planning and advice. And through our group advisory agreements, through this process, they have access to you and they should appreciate that, that ability to talk to you.
Yeah, and I do want to mention to our viewers, if you work somewhere and you want to share with your HR department that we do offer a free pilot program for our group advisory program, and which includes Quala, our proprietary application. So if that is something that you're interested in, I'll put our email address in the comment box below so that you'll be able to provide that to your HR department, or if you are in HR, you can reach out to us. All right, until next time, have a good one.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you.